Some 49ers news this morning. Trey McBride, Arizona's tight end, disrespected George Kittle yesterday. I couldn't believe it. Left him off of the top 5 tight ends list. We're going to get to that in a bit. We're also going to do a full breakdown of the 49ers 53 and 70-man roster at this point to help set the table for the stretch run heading into December and, of course, into January. But first, the big news. Congratulations to Curtis Robinson, 49ers linebacker. This is from San Francisco's website. He has been named the 49ers Walter Payton Man of the Year for the second straight season. Now, the NFL's Man of the Year is going to be chosen from the 32 Walter Payton Men of the Year from different teams. Last year, remember, Eric Armstead was selected as the Walter Payton Man of the Year. He's now with Jacksonville, but of course spent the first 9 years of his career with the San Francisco 49ers. Well, Curtis Robinson gets the distinction for the second straight year. This is the most prestigious individual off-field award because it's based on work in the community, and I think that it's very important that we highlight that on top of what these guys do on the football field. And Curtis has been such an active member of support for the Bay Area community. Remember, he went to Stanford for his college days, and even back then, he credits his parents. It was instilled in him to give back. There are a lot of cool stuff that Curtis Robinson has done. This one really stood out to me. This past year, he used his Walter Payton Man of the Year $40,000 donation to help fund a new Mobilize Love truck that provides free haircuts in low-income communities. The truck used across the Bay Area to meet the needs of children and families in meaningful and tangible ways. And it obviously helps to get a fresh haircut. I mean, that's one of the best feelings you can get when you get a fresh haircut. You know, sometimes you think about these grand gestures, all right, what is somebody going to do with support money? And you forget about something as simple and as effective as a haircut. But obviously, great idea by Curtis Robinson. And he said that right here in the release, it says in December, he hosted a community event in Oakland where over 100 students enjoyed a warm meal and received haircuts from the truck. Complimentary eye exams were also provided by Zenni, and Safeway provided $250 gift cards to each family at the school. So just cool to see an NFL player use his platform and then by extension mobilize the help of the corporate partners of a team to help the community, help the Bay Area. Curtis Robinson said that my parents instilled in me to be involved and give back to the community. I witnessed the sacrifices they made to ensure I had access to resources I needed to pursue my dreams as a kid. I thought that's what was normal. They set the standard for me to use my platform to pay it forward and bridge the gap for others. So congratulations to Curtis Robinson. He is the 49ers Walter Payton Man of the Year Team Award winner. The other 31 teams also selecting their winners. And then the NFL honors this year, they're at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco on the Thursday before the Super Bowl. The NFL honors is where that Walter Payton Man of the Year is going to be named. And maybe it will be Curtis Robinson for the work that he has done off the field. He's obviously done good work on the field for the 49ers as well. What a story for Curtis, right? About 30 minutes before, or 30 minutes after, actually, he already had been named the 49ers starting strong side linebacker last year in late September. 30 minutes after he was told by the 49ers coaching staff that he was going to be starting at linebacker for the football team, he tore his ACL. I mean, just brutal timing. He was going to take Demetrius Flanagan-Foles' starting spot. Instead, DFF kept that starting spot. Now Demetrius Flanagan-Foles is with the New York Giants. Curtis Robinson recovered from the ACL tear, came back, I thought, in very quick time because he also had some meniscus damage. So it wasn't a fully clean ACL tear, but he still came back relatively quickly considering all that damage. Big contributor for the 49ers in special teams. Had an awesome pick six in the preseason this year where his teammates were so happy for him. It was really neat to be in that locker room to see the praise that Curtis Robinson was getting after that pick six. I believe it was against the Denver Broncos after the joint practices. And he has been needed to start now at the Mike linebacker position. Fred Warner went down. Tatum Bethune went down. Curtis Robinson in there now. We'll see where Eric Kendricks slots in. Kendricks can play both the Mike and the Will. D. Winters is coming off one of his better games this past weekend against the Cleveland Browns. So it's all TBD for how the linebacker situation shakes out moving forward. I don't think Tatum Bethune's going to be back against the Titans, but Kendricks has a chance if he puts in the right conditioning over the course of this bye week and then has a good 4 practices next week. Kendricks has a chance to be part of that mix. Maybe it's a snap division between Kendricks and Curtis Robinson. That might be a little bit tricky because the mic is the one position with the radio in his helmet. So the 49ers are going to want to make sure that communication remains seamless. But Kendricks has been there and done that at an all-pro level. Curtis Robinson's been a hell of a fill-in for the 49ers as their third-string middle linebacker. Walter Payton, team man of the year for the 49ers, and somebody who at the very least is going to have a key role on special teams for the 49ers from here to the finish line. And as we know, the 49ers special teams unit has gone worst to first. Curtis Robinson, part of that effort for San Francisco. Number 1 ever since they moved to Eddie Pinheiro in week 2. They're blocking well. The return units have been awesome. They're averaging the best starting field position in the league off of kickoffs at about the 36-yard line. The punt return game has been awesome with Sky Moore. Obviously, Moore has also been returning kicks, but you've got to credit Brian Robinson Jr. there and all the 49ers blockers on both punt and kick return. They have a new punter this year in Thomas Morstead, who might be playing his final NFL season. He's been around forever. Thomas Morstead actually punted for the Saints against the 49ers in that epic playoff game at Candlestick in 2011. I talked to Thomas Morstead about that. The Saints, they might have been the best team in the league that year. And the 49ers upset them in a divisional round, one of the great games in 49ers history. Alex Smith scoring a ton of points to go head-to-head with Drew Brees. They were going back and forth at the end of that game with the defenses exhausted. Anyway, Thomas Morstead was the punter of that Saints team, and he was already in his 3rd year in the league. He entered the league in 2009, like heyday of the Drew Brees Saints. So that this might be his final season. There have been some indications toward that, and he's been punting his ass off for the 49ers. He's been doing a really good job, and obviously Eddie Pinheiro has been perfect on field goals. So has Matt Gay filling in for Eddie Pinheiro. We do expect Eddie to be back for San Francisco against the Tennessee Titans when they leave the bye week. All right, this is the news with Trey McBride, the star Arizona Cardinals tight end. This is his list. He was on a podcast with Jordan Schultz. He listed his top 5 tight ends: Travis Kelce, Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, Brock Bowers, and Tyler Warren, the rookie out of Penn State, who's with Indianapolis Colts. The 49ers will see him in just a couple of weeks when they head to the state of Indiana. Where the hell is George Kittle on this list? This was just bizarre when I saw this yesterday, because George Kittle is the best tight end in football, like the very best. There's not even a debate for that. I mean, the top 5 is a completely foregone conclusion. I think that there should be no question that he's the best tight end, period. Like number 1. All these guys are all good players. And I mean, I would even say they border on greatness. Travis Kelce obviously is past his prime at this point, but I've loved what I've seen from Tyler Warren. Brock Bowers is a catch machine. Tucker Kraft, without him, his presence and lack of presence really felt in Green Bay. Laporta, I mean, same thing. When the Lions didn't have him, that was a big blow for them. But George Kittle is a better run blocker than all of these guys. And I do not think that should be undersold, because if you can run block like an offensive tackle at 250 pounds or even less than that as George Kittle, somewhere around 250, right? 240 to 250. If you can run block with offensive tackles, power and effectiveness, that's worth so much, especially to this 49ers team. But in this league, that is a unique skill set. But the one thing that sets George Kittle apart from all 5 of Trey McBride's top 5 tight ends is that he moves like at 1.5x of these guys. Like everything that George Kittle does in the receiving game is faster. The guy was an athletic freak at the NFL Combine back in 2017, running a 4.5 40 at 250. He still moves that well. Like every tight end in the league seems like he is operating at plodding speed compared to George Kittle. It is obvious when you watch the tape. It's obvious when you look at the production. I mean, Kittle is the one guy who can be used as a wide receiver one. The other tight ends can't. The other tight ends are tight ends. Like, they fit within the structure of the play action based systems in which they're in. But George Kittle can line up out wide, and he's carrying the 49ers offense, which is lacking a true X receiver. Especially when Ricky Pearsall was out, the 49ers didn't have that outside wide receiving threat. The offense runs through Kittle. The 49ers running attack ranked number 27 in efficiency when George Kittle was out this year for the first several weeks. They've improved to number 9 with George Kittle in the lineup. Like, that's the one variable that changed. And he just commands such a respect with defensive, with gravity, right? Defenses flowing over toward his side, but commands such an ambidextrous respect, right? You don't know if he's going to line up on the left or if he's going to line up on the right. And you also don't know if the 49ers are going to pass or if they're going to run when he's in the game, because he has wide receiver one effectiveness in the pass game and he has offensive tackle effectiveness in the run game. He is such a dominant piece that anyone who knows the game will go and tell you that George Kittle is the best tight end in football. No questions asked. I mean, only fantasy football players would say somebody like Brock Bowers, and that's because they're not actually watching the tape. Anyway, Trey McBride left Kittle off the list, and I've got to wonder, like, is there a beef between McBride and George Kittle? This was posted by Jordan Schultz. This is a DM conversation between Schultz and McBride, and McBride said, "Great, I left Kittle out. Now the whole world is hating me." And I don't know how he could intentionally leave George Kittle out. I mean, maybe it was just a massive oversight. Maybe it's so obvious that Kittle is the best tight end, but he sees him twice a year. He plays for the Cardinals twice a year. I even thought that McBride might wear the number 85 because of George Kittle, but I guess not. And all I have to say is that one of the funniest things that I've seen all year was, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but now I can, since Trey McBride left George Kittle off of his top 5 tight ends list, and that's absolutely ridiculous. It was like 1st and goal from the 16-yard line after a penalty, because Arizona had like 18 of those when the 49ers played the Cardinals a couple weeks ago. McBride caught a pass, and he fell down at the 6. He was tackled there, well short of the end zone, and he got up, and he did the most emphatic first down gesture. And then he looked over toward the sideline and saw that the chains were down because it was 1st and goal, so it wasn't a first down. He's like, oh. And he just put his head down and ran back to the huddle. It was one of the funnier, more embarrassing things I've seen on a football field, because he's obviously practiced his first down gesture, and it's really, really emphatic. It's like, hey, I got a first down. And the guy's out there signaling first down when he didn't pick up a first down, because it was 1st and goal, and he didn't. I mean, even if he reached the end zone, he's not going to celebrate with a first down. I'd hope that the celebration is different. So the Cardinals, it didn't seem that their heads were in that game, right? 18 penalties. That was brutal. And they were also signaling, gesturing first down when they weren't even close to a first down in Trey McBride's case. That was toward the end of the first half. So maybe Trey McBride forgot that George Kittle is playing in the NFL the same way that he forgot where the first down marker was or wasn't on that play against the 49ers. Just wild to me. Mike has his own list of top 5 tight ends. Maybe you guys are going to like Mike's list a little bit better. George Kittle, Trey McBride. Yeah, I think Trey is one of the top 5 tight ends in the game. Tucker Kraft, Brock Bowers, and Tyler Warren. Everybody really seems to love Warren, who just came out of Penn State. We were watching him in the college football playoff last year, and it was like, oh, this guy's a perfect 49er. Unfortunately, the 49ers couldn't use their draft capital early on a tight end, but he would have fit very well. He's playing in an offense that has a lot in common with the 49ers offense in Indianapolis. It's based on what Jonathan Taylor can do. He's like their Christian McCaffrey. They've plugged Daniel Jones into the quarterback position and Tyler Warren into all the play actions that they run. And he's been a fine addition for them. But, McBride, maybe he's salty that he was number 1 in tight end pay for like 3 weeks this offseason. McBride signed a deal for $19 million or so annually. And somebody finally surpassed George Kittle in tight ends pay. But then 3 or 4 weeks later, George Kittle re-signed with the 49ers, and his extension obviously surpassed Trey McBride's in APY. Why? Because George Kittle's the best tight end in football. Like, he's going to get that kind of money even when his contract hasn't yet expired. The market doesn't lie in this kind of case. And Kittle has done so much to elevate the rest of the position with tight end with the personality that he's brought. And the only way that he's able to do that is by the legendary play that he's put onto the field. I mean, you're talking about a future Hall of Famer here who still is very much in his prime, unlike somebody like Travis Kelce, who did make the list for Trey McBride. So it just makes no sense to keep George Kittle off. And the reason that I'm so passionate about this is because we like to be accurate in our analysis of the 49ers. And I promised a big look at the 49ers depth chart. And it's funny, the 2023 depth chart popped up. Do you guys want to look at this? So this could be a blast from the past. I usually put up the 2025 one, but for whatever reason, the 2023 one popped up. So look at the quarterback room for the 49ers. I was like, why am I putting this up? But I'm putting this up because it's interesting as hell. This was a great 49ers team. Look at the quarterback room. Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason. Oh, how nice it was for San Francisco back then. They had Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Jawan Jennings with the clear number 3 in the receiver room. Ray McLeod playing that specialty weapon for the 49ers, kind of the gadget weapon on offense. And you had Chris Conley, who made some big catches in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl for San Francisco. Deebo Samuel's injury really forced the 49ers into that position. You had Charlie Werner as your tight end, too. I think Charlie's the best blocking tight end, too, the 49ers have had behind George Kittle over the Shanahan tenure. That really, really helped that 2023 team. I mean, this was an offensive juggernaut, right? The offensive line actually that year, though, was worse than it is now. They were number 26 in pass block win rate. I mean, they had Trent Williams, but Aaron Banks, the mediocre at best with his scores. Jake Brendel had a solid year in 2023, much better than 2024 when he was playing with the knee tendonitis. But right guard was an issue. Feliciano helped patch that up, but he didn't start until later in the season, and then he got hurt in the Super Bowl. And Burford had a rough year for the 49ers at right guard. And Colton McKivitz was nowhere near the player that he is today. He's an above-average right tackle now. He's developed into that. But in 2023, he wasn't that type of player. The defense, they didn't have the same type of coordinator as they do now. They had Steve Wilkes. Imagine Robert Saleh or D'Amico Ryans with this defense. But they did have Bosa. They did have Armstead. Hargrave, when he was healthy, was a productive defensive tackle for the 49ers. And they traded for Chase Young. They also traded for Randy Gregory. So, I mean, they had some talent on this team. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, linebacker. We all know about the Achilles tear for Dre in the Super Bowl. One weakness for the 49ers was that third linebacker spot, Oren Burks. Especially when he had to move up to the second linebacker spot in the Super Bowl, did get picked on by Mahomes and Travis Kelce. The second cornerback spot right here was the third cornerback spot, really, because Ward and Lenore were the two top guys. I have Lenore here because they would flex Lenore down into the slot because Isaiah Oliver never really worked out for the 49ers. That was a Wilkes guy that ended up being benched, even playing some safety later in the year. But that third corner spot, that Ambry Thomas had to play quite a bit in that season when he was available. Then obviously Darrell Luter Jr. had the big special teams mishap in the Super Bowl. And you had safety, which was really, really interesting. The 49ers that year, they did see an injury, right, to Talanoa Hufanga. And Tashawn Gibson Sr., it was good they had him on the team, but that led to the rise of Jair Brown. And ultimately, some of the nickel problems led to the rise of Logan Ryan playing both some backup safety and nickel for the 49ers. So he was the veteran who retired after that season for the 49ers. You could see some of the holes on this defense. They actually finished as number 10 in the NFL, and the special teams was really bad that year. Obviously, Jake Moody, Tabor Pepper, and Mitch Wishnowsky. All right. That was a random little segue. The 2023 roster just popped up on me, and I thought we'd have some fun looking at it. But we got to find the 49ers 2025 roster. So let me get to it really quickly. The 2025 49ers 90-man depth chart. We're going to do our full breakdown. Here it is. So this is a lot more civilized now. We can look at the actual current situation, the current setup for the 49ers. I have more color codings now. Teal, those are free agent additions. Green, those are rookies. And then obviously the injuries I shade in pink. And we can really go through this position by position. I'm curious to see some of the comments about the 2023 roster. Are people talking about it? Somebody asking, what's a true run blocking tight end? Well, somebody who can give you, maybe not fully approximate what an offensive tackle can do, but somebody who could really get down and dirty in the ground game, get nasty in that run game, because it's not a finesse thing, right? When you're starting to have to move bodies. And the one really cool thing about tight ends is that they're going to be lighter than the tackles. And this is one area where Kittle definitely leverages his size speed combination. Since the linebackers have downsized in this league, and even some defensive linemen have downsized in this league, there's more agility to block. So you need more agility from the blocker to be able to get out in front of those guys. And George Kittle is able to do that. George Kittle is able to use his movement ability to be in position to exert his strength in some of these blocks. Sometimes these linebackers, they're as light as 210 pounds now in the league. It's tough for an offensive tackle or an offensive guard to square those guys up in the blocking game. But George Kittle, being a little bit lighter, can square those guys up. So the agility and the speed with which George Kittle moves is so important in the run game. And again, I just go back to the splits. The stats here are very, very stark. The 49ers with a number 27 run offense and EPA efficiency per run without George Kittle this year. With him on the field, they're top 10. So they go from bottom 5 to top 10. The one changing variable is Kittle, and you see why. Because anytime the 49ers line up at the line of scrimmage, the goal for Kyle Shanahan is to compromise that defense with adaptability. So Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, great examples of Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he could do anything right on the field. Awesome examples of players who can create doubt in the defense's mind as to what the 49ers play is going to be. You're not telegraphing run. You're not telegraphing pass. It could be either, which is why it's also so important to stay on schedule as an offense, because if it's 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, you really can't guess what the 49ers are going to do. Then they have the personnel to put out there between Kittle, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, you name the player. They have a lot of adaptable players, but they have the personnel to keep the defense guessing. And if the defense is guessing, they don't know if a base package or a nickel package or a dime package is going to be the best. They don't know if a blitz is going to work. There's just a lot of indecision. And Kyle Shanahan takes that indecision and he could terrorize a defense. Like that's basically the 49ers offensive plan in a nutshell. If you needed the big grand summary of how Kyle Shanahan wants to operate. So, with somebody like Kittle, I don't think there is a better piece in the league. There might be some equal pieces, but maybe even not. I don't think there's a better piece in the league to out-leverage a defense because of the combination that he brings. Wide receiver one ability in the receiving game, offensive tackle ability in the pass game. That is an awesome, awesome combo of two things for George Kittle. He also is all in every play. Somebody asked, Trey McBride is not allowed to have an opinion. He's allowed to have an opinion, but that's definitely an incorrect one. Like, I'm sorry. It's when you talk to anybody and you watch the tape and you look at the numbers too. Like, it's not just an opinion in this case. There's actual factual data that we can use to back this up. The impact that George Kittle has on the game is unquestioned. And can we quantify it down to the point? Probably not. But we can quantify it fairly well. Like the run defense or the run offense stat that I gave you, number 27 to top 10 for the 49ers, that's stark. And if we watch the tape, you could see the difference that George Kittle makes in terms of run blocking ability, gravity, and leverage over the opposing defense. Then, you could just go by the GPS tracking speed. Nobody is moving faster than George Kittle out there. And it's not like he moves well, but then struggles to catch passes or run routes. And we just saw in Cleveland this past week, that was a hard catch. whoever was covering him, I forgot who it was I think it was a safety for the Browns, were all over him, and somehow George Kittle was able to bring it in. So it's not like he lacks ball skills, right? So I mean, you just put this on a spreadsheet, list the attributes, list the statistical benefits that each player gives his team, each of these tight ends gives his team, and it's George Kittle and then everybody else. Like, Kittle's the best tight end by a mile. Like, at some point, yeah, opinions are great, but at some point facts matter. It's like the same thing about Brock Purdy. Everybody's got to have an opinion about Brock Purdy. I'm sorry, many of your opinions about Brock Purdy are incorrect, because we actually have tape, we actually have data, we have documented production to show this guy's been the number one quarterback in terms of efficiency since he joined the league in 2022. You can't go around saying that he's a below average QB, or just a guy, just a replaceable guy, or somebody that should be benched after he commits a couple giveaways for Mac Jones. You can't just go around and say that and think that you're in the right, because you're not. You're wrong. Actual facts matter more than feelings. Actual facts matter more than opinion. So I'm giving Trey McBride a hard time because, yeah, it's his opinion, but that opinion flies counter to actual facts. And I think that, this is me getting into a little bit more of a tangent, bigger picture thing. It's an issue in society in general now. I call it a post-truth society. Everybody thinks that because they feel a certain way, that must be true. No, sorry. Like, you might feel a certain way, but it's not true. You could be objectively wrong. There is a truth, and it's not determined by you. The truth is the truth. You can't just decide that Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback because you feel that he should be a good quarterback. He ranks dead last, number 45 of 45 over his first two starts in EPA. That a good quarterback doesn't rank dead last. Like, maybe he'll develop into a good quarterback, but he currently isn't. And you can't just say that Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback right now because you feel like it. Like, the truth is not going to move to pacify you. Right? You can't just say that Brock Purdy isn't any good because you feel like it, because you want your draft projection and your draft biases to be confirmed. Just because you feel like it, the truth is not going to change. Brock Purdy is one of the top quarterbacks in the game, period. That's what the facts say. That's what the numbers say. That's what the tape says. You can't get around it. Sorry. Facts matter more than your feelings, and the facts matter more than Trey McBride's feelings on this issue. All right, roster breakdown time. Here we go. At quarterback right now, many have been asking me if Trey McBride if Adrian Martinez is still on the team. Yes, he was off the team for a day or two, but the 49ers re-signed him back to the practice squad. So they still have three quarterbacks in the building. It's Purdy, it's Mac Jones, it's Adrian Martinez. As far as we know, all three of those QBs are healthy right now for San Francisco. Running back room, McCaffrey, feeling great. Knock on wood. You want that to continue, but it's been a fantastic year for McCaffrey. He's on pace to be the first player in NFL history with 1,000 receiving yards and 1,000 rushing yards in the same season twice. He did it in 2019, and he has a chance to do it again here in 2025. The first to ever do it was former 49ers running back Roger Craig, and Roger Craig might make the Hall of Fame this year. He's going through the secondary way of trying to make the Hall of Fame since his initial voting eligibility has already expired. And I know that he just made it through another step of that process. I think that whoever's voting on this next step, and it's all too complicated for me to track, so I'm just going to wait and see if he gets in. But whoever's voting, it should be unanimous for Roger Craig to get in. He's the first player ever to go 1,000, 1,000. And this happened in the 80s, way before modern passing games. I know that Bill Walsh influenced a lot of that, and that's why Roger Craig's talents were maximized in such a way. But Roger Craig deserves a lot of that credit. Like, it's not just because he played for Bill Walsh. I have a feeling that Roger Craig is overshadowed because Montana was his quarterback and Walsh was his offensive coordinator. But if that were the case, the 49ers would have had other backs go 1,000, 1,000 if it was all because of the quarterback play caller combination. Roger Craig was the man who went 1,000, 1,000. He did it first. It wasn't done again until Marshall Faulk did it in 1999, over a decade later. And then it wasn't accomplished again after that until Christian McCaffrey did it in 2019. So put some respect on Roger Craig's name. Anyway, we're putting some respect on Christian McCaffrey's name. Brian Robinson Jr., he's averaging 10 to 15 snaps a game on offense. They've been valuable snaps. He's been running better and better. He'll be fairly fresh, I would think, because this is a much smaller workload compared to his previous workloads. He should be fresh heading into the stretch run. You always talk about the postseason as a time when the weather gets worse. It becomes harder to pass. Defenses are more bruised. You can rely more and more on that run game. And the 49ers run game, I think, typically gets better as the year progresses because the outside zone that is so complex that Shanahan runs, and an inch here, a degree difference in angle there from the blocking and the combo blocks, they require such precision and cohesion. I think that we've seen that start to click more and more as the season has gone along. But just go back to 2019, the year that the 49ers went on that crazy outside zone run through the playoffs. It wasn't until December, January, especially January when they played the Packers in an NFC title game, that run game really, really blew up. And I think that the 49ers, they may not be running the same type of outside zone exclusive system as they did in 2019. They don't have the same kind of explosive speed as they did with Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman, but they're running a mix of gap scheme and outside zone and inside zone now. I think this is ripe for the picking for Brian Robinson Jr. to have some big runs and big contributions down the stretch. Guerendo and James are your depth. And, there's some ridiculous takes. So why isn't Jordan James playing? Why isn't Guerendo playing? Neither of those guys should play if Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. are healthy. You don't just sit here and give handouts to players that are on the roster. You play guys if you need to, but if there are guys who are better than them, and I wouldn't expect Guerendo and James to be better than Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr., a couple well-established veterans, if those two guys are healthy, they should get all the carries. You don't just hand out work to Guerendo and James as a charity. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it's a fantasy football team. Maybe people drafted those guys and wanted them on their teams. I don't get it, but anyway, that's the state of the running backs room. Those guys are in the bullpen in case the 49ers need them. Then there's Kyle Juszczyk, who is dealing with fractured rib. He might not miss any time, though. I would think at the very latest he's back for the Indianapolis game. Maybe the 49ers can take it easy for the Tennessee game. Maybe you can have Juszczyk rest, move Jake Tonjes from tight end to fullback for that game. Could be a valuable thing to do if you're the 49ers anyway. Just give Tonjes some reps at fullback to make sure that you can click in that way as an offense as well. You're preparing for the playoffs. I think they got the benefit of A, having a bye week late, but then B, they play the worst team in the league, a 1-11 team, to really work on some stuff entering the Murderer's Row stretch run. Receivers in an interesting spot because you've got Pearsall working his way back. Jennings playing good football now. He's off of the rib injury. Demarcus Robinson has not really been used much in the pass game this year, but he's there. Kendrick Bourne saw some more snaps against Cleveland. Might have been a catch. It wasn't challenged, but it looked like he might have gotten both feet down. Jordan Watkins is on the roster. He's been inactive again. Sky Moore is obviously going to be active as a gadget weapon. Jacob Cowing, he had a hamstring injury early in this season. That's healed, but you're not going to open up Jacob Cowing's practice window until you need to, because I don't think there would be a lot of confidence that he could just immediately help them relative to what they have right now if he returned right now. And with everybody currently healthy at the moment, at least on this part of the roster, I don't see the need for Jacob Cowing. I mean, what does he give you that Jordan Watkins can? And Jordan Watkins right now is not even cracking the 49ers game day active list. I think, they're definitely missing the presence of Brandon Ayuk. And to me, that situation is borderline tragic. Ayuk's brothers, the guys who he's worked with for years, could really use him out on that football field, even if he's 75% of what he was in 2023. But it really sounds like the ball is in Brandon Ayuk's court, and he's just not going to pass it back. He's just not going to show up for a team that paid him a contract worth up to $30 million annually. It really is. I mean, we heard John Lynch talk about it the other day. I've never heard John Lynch be as blunt as he has been about anything, but as he was about this. But he essentially went out and said that you got to act like a professional. Certain things are expected, and it's very clear that Brandon Ayuk is not living up to those expectations. I want to find the exact quote while I'm here. John Lynch said, "I don't know that the reporting was an inflection point. The entire time it hasn't been great, and that is the relationship and communication with Brandon Ayuk. You do your best to rectify things. Everyone's got to be professional and conduct themselves in that manner." And obviously the implication there is that Brandon Ayuk hasn't been professional and hasn't conducted himself in the appropriate manner. It's funny because we know that the 49ers, I mean, the big mistake was that, especially in retrospect, you can tell is that they didn't trade him when there were chances to trade him before the 2024 contract was signed. And one of the problems was that they needed Ayuk's approval to trade him because he would need a new contract from whomever they traded him to. And he vetoed trades to the Patriots and to the Cleveland Browns. Ultimately, I think that he was okay with the trade to Pittsburgh, but the 49ers really wanted Pittsburgh to send over George Pickens in return, and Pittsburgh didn't want to do that. This was all in August of 2024. Pittsburgh ultimately sent Pickens to the Cowboys, he's had a really nice year with Dak Prescott in May of 2025. So they were willing to trade him, but not until a few months later. I think the 49ers, you look at these are like behavioral problems from Brandon Ayuk, right? This was something that was an issue during the contract holdout. He sat on the deal that he ended up signing for 3 weeks, and that did a lot of damage on the 49ers. But then the issues persisted even beyond the signing. The whole shorts incident at practice, and he wasn't playing the way that he played in 2023 throughout the first few weeks of 2024. And now, obviously, this. I think if the 49ers have a specific regret, it's that they didn't heed the red flags that they were seeing before the contract was signed that have obviously persisted to after the contract was signed. And it's very easy to make the case that those red flags should have led to a trade, which was why that was the big debate at the time. Are the 49ers going to trade Brandon Ayuk? Are they not? Now, again, he did get the situation to be much more difficult than it had to be. Like, he did veto some trades that the 49ers were willing to make at the time. And ultimately, they paid him in their desperation to be as good as possible in 2024, because that was the mindset, to run it back, to try to cram in another title run. And they very quickly regretted it. And it's, turned into something that has gone worst possible scenario for the 49ers. But at the very least, they were able to salvage some of this by voiding the guarantees, because it's almost like Ayuk has helped them get through the very worst of this by breaking the terms of the contract, which has allowed the 49ers to void some of the part of the contract that was really, really weighing them down. But we will now see how this entire saga ends. There's not a lot of optimism, though, from the 49ers that Brandon Ayuk decides to get back on the field with them. Anyway, they could really use Ayuk in that receiver room. I don't think that somebody like Jordan Watkins is fully ready to deliver what the 49ers need. It's not as simple as plugging in a fast guy and stretching out the defense. I mean, you've got to be good at a lot of things to fit into the larger mosaic of the Kyle Shanahan offense. Obviously, Kittle, we talked plenty about that at the tight end position. Luke Farrell is the Charlie Werner now for the 49ers. I think that Luke has been getting more and more comfortable in this 49ers system as the season has gone along. I think that there were some rough moments for Luke Farrell early on this year, blocking wise, but I think in the run game especially, he wasn't running the same stuff back when he was with Jacksonville. So I think that you've got to give Luke Farrell some grace, some time to get involved in this system. 49ers signed him to a multi-year contract, and Luke has really been better as this season has progressed. Probably another part of the improvement of that 49ers run game. Offensive line, I really think they're having a nice year, guys. This hurts. They don't have Ben Barch anymore. He's probably done for the season. And he's their best option at left guard. But they knew that Barch had an injury history. And they decided to get out in front of it when he came back from his first injury this year, the high ankle sprain. And they split his reps with Spencer Burford. And that allowed Spencer Burford to truly get his feet wet at left guard. And Spencer's been playing a lot better than he did back in 2023 at right guard. I'm going to have a big analytics breakdown on the San Francisco Standard come out tomorrow, where we're going to see exactly where these guys rank, where the 49ers rank when it comes to the offensive line, pass blocking efficiency, run blocking efficiency, so on and so forth. And, when we go through that, Burford's going to be below average in pass blocking, but he's been a good run blocker for the 49ers. And it hasn't been the second percentile disaster that the 49ers had to suffer through at that right guard position in 2023. So you've had guard, I think, improve over where Aaron Banks was for the 49ers in 2022 to 2024. And plus, Aaron Banks is not delivering all that great football for the Green Bay Packers. Brendel's been much better than last year because he's healthier than last year. Pooney has gradually worked his way back into health after he got hurt during the preseason. And McKivitz is a plus tackle now. The improvement of Colton McKivitz should not be undersold. Wait till you see the exact numbers on the pass blocking efficiency for Colton McKivitz in my piece on the Standard. I mean, he is rivaling Trent Williams when it comes to pass pro. Williams may not be at his full prime self, but he's still playing really, really good football. Had one of the toughest matchups of his career this past weekend against Myles Garrett. That was a good matchup, but Garrett's going to win against anybody these days. The 49ers are really, really comfortable with both of the talents they have at tackle. Defensive line, as we check in on this full roster right now, is much better than it was a few weeks ago. And, a lot of that is the moves the 49ers made during the lead up to the trade deadline. I'm going to move Sam Okawanu over here to the right, and I'm going to move Cleveland Farrell over here. And Farrell is teal because he's a free agent pickup, but Okawanu is currently hurt, but he's on the 53-man roster. So we'll have Okawanu out here and just really emphasize the top 8 rotation for the 49ers, because this is where it's at. Obviously, they got Huff and they've got Keon White, who's been very impressive. Alfred Collins is playing his ass off. He's developed the second-round pick at a prodigious level over the course of this year. They'd like Jordan Elliott as the veteran fixture of the interior defensive line, because the other guys in the rotation now, with Kevin Givens effectively being pushed out of it, are CJ West and Kalia Davis. Those are all young players. Not a lot of snaps for either of those two players. And CJ, on some of the run stops, he's starting to take on and move double teams. And that's exactly what he did in college at Indiana. I mean, Indiana's run defense, he was only there 1 year. CJ West was at Kent State. And then he transferred to Indiana. They were a college football playoff team. They may be the best team in all of college football this year. It's going to be fun to watch them in the championship season. They've got a hell of a program there. Curtis Rourke was their QB last year. But they went from like middling, lower tier run defense to one of the best run defenses in the nation just because CJ West transferred there. So what the 49ers did this draft is they just looked for guys who would be good setting the edge, taking on double teams against the run, because they also needed to go from one of the worst run defenses in the league to one of the best. And they're in the top 10 now. And so much of it has been because of Alfred Collins. Michael Williams, unfortunately, hurt for the rest of the year, but he was helpful while he was in there. And now the 49ers have picked up the slack with other defensive ends. But CJ West, his role is growing on the inside. And it is an important one for San Francisco because whenever you could have a defensive tackle clog some of those blockers, it allows the linebackers to flow behind them. And the job is so much easier for the second level of that defense. So Cleveland Farrell, Keon White, big additions. Yes, the 49ers did make pre-trade deadline moves. Don't let anybody tell you that they didn't. If they could get Sam Okawanu back from his high ankle sprain, that could really help the D-line because he was starting to play some good football for them as well. And Robert Beal Jr.'s best pass rush, I have to say, came when we saw that bull rush this past weekend in Cleveland against right tackle backed him into Shedeur Sanders' lap, and then just really raised his arm over and hit the arm as it was coming forward. It was the luckiest play of the game for the Browns. Shedeur threw a total duck that should have probably been picked. It turned into an interception. Sometimes it is better to be lucky than good, but it was still a very, very good pass rush for Robert Beal Jr. Linebacker, this is where Eric Kendricks fills in. I have him listed right now. I have him at the weak side spot. I should probably put Eric Kendricks up here at the Mike spot, but maybe Kendricks supersedes Curtis Robinson sooner rather than later. We'll see what the timing of that is like. We'll also see what the timing of Tatum Bethune's return is, but Tatum is currently at a high ankle sprain, probably going to miss at least one more game against Tennessee before you could think about him returning, and we'll see where Kendricks fits into that. D. Winters seems to be playing better at the weak side, and then strong side is interesting because Nick Martin is starting to get more time, but he's now going to be coming off of a concussion. But Martin and Gifford had been splitting some of the strong side linebacker snaps, and I think it was matchup dependent for the 49ers. Martin played only one snap, and he was woozy. It seemed like he was woozy after it. Obviously, concussion testing was positive. It was the fourth down snap, the first fourth down stuff where Malik Mustafa came in like a missile. It was Elliott and Mustafa forcing the loss in the backfield, and then good cleanup work from Nick Martin, but he did suffer a concussion. So that might affect and slow down the rookie's entry into this 49ers lineup. The secondary, we got a shade Upton Stout here with the rookie color. Oops, messed that up. Let's go back here. Let's find the paintbrush. Let's get that done. It's a little too light. There, that's the right shade of green. So they got a rookie at nickelback, who I think is growing. There still is a lot of upside and downside, big boom bust potential there, big boom bust gap for the Upton Stout performance. Then you've got Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown at strong safety and free safety. The 49ers have finally fallen on a combination that they like, with Jason Pinnock moving in and playing the third safety, big nickel spot when it's needed. Chase Lucas is the actual backup for nickelback to Upton Stout, but it's Pinnock who comes in there when the 49ers want a bigger body than a nickelback, but a smaller, faster body than a third linebacker. And I think good years being had by both Deommodore Lenoir and Renardo Green. Of course, if you go down here, Weeks, Pinheiro, Morstead, we expect Pinheiro back. Matt Gay has done a good job filling in for him. And that, my friends, is the 49ers roster check-in. Any questions? Been talking for 47 minutes and 32 seconds straight, nonstop. Something that I've become better at over the years. I would love to answer some of your questions since I don't want to keep on coming up with talking points on my own. Well, what's wrong with Nick Martin is that he's got a concussion right now, so that's obviously something that needs to heal. But Nick Martin is a rookie who's tremendously raw, who looked completely lost in the preseason. And I don't blame or criticize him for that. The guy only played 4 games his final year of college before suffering a knee injury. So he missed most of last season, hadn't played football in a long time when this season started. We saw the rough preseason for him. You can't just toss a guy out there and expect him not to get exposed by NFL schemes, NFL audibles, NFL adjustments. Yeah, he's got a lot of athleticism. He's got a lot of strength. But you got to harness those abilities, and he's got to learn how to play within himself. So they've been spoon-feeding him over the course of the year, and he finally started working his way into the lineup very recently. But he suffered the concussion against the Cleveland Browns, so that may slow his integration into the lineup. But a player like that, like the baseline of expectation, if he missed most of his senior college season, should be, maybe this is just going to be a special teams redshirt kind of year. And that's what it has been. That's why you bring in Luke Gifford. And I think that Nick Martin next year, you hope for the second year jump. Now, sometimes a player surges more quickly, but that shouldn't be the expectation because it is not the norm. Net expected points rankings over time. SF Data Niners always comes out with some fire graphics. So I think that we're going to feature one of their graphics here. Let's go for it. All right. It's like, where's Waldo thing? Where are the 49ers? So you got rank on the right. week here. So after week 1, the 49ers ranked up here, number 7 in EPA. They dropped down to number 8 against the Saints. And even though they started 3-0, they were ranked number 12 through the first 3 weeks. They dropped all the way down to number 17 after losing to Jacksonville. Moved up a spot or two after beating the Rams. Then they dropped all the way down to their season low after losing to Tampa Bay. They were down at, looks like, number 19, up to number 16 after beating Atlanta, down to 17 after losing to Houston, up after, what was the New York game, up after beating the New York Giants, then down. I lost my spot right here. Down to number 15 after losing to the Rams. And then it's been a little bit of a climb up for the 49ers, the 3-game win streak. So they beat the Cardinals, moved up to number 12. This is combining offense, defense, and special teams. They beat the Panthers, stayed at number 12, and then beating the Browns moved them up to number 11. So if you combine offense, defense, and special teams, 49ers ranked as the 11th team in football. I think a game against the Browns and then a game against the Tennessee Titans could help the 49ers move into the top 10. And then that sets the table for the final 3 games of the season, where you're going to be playing the Colts, who are net EPA number 4. You're going to be playing the Chicago Bears, who are net EPA number 15. That's why I think the 49ers should be favored over the Bears. And then you're going to be playing the Seahawks, who actually are net EPA number 1. That is a hell of a matchup to close the season against the Seattle Seahawks. Interesting data. I like it. I'm ready for some more questions. What are the chances the 49ers draft a wide receiver this year? I'd say that's high, just given where they are. I mean, they committed all that money to Brandon Ayuk, and it doesn't look promising for his future with the football team. So if you're the 49ers, you're probably going to have to go back to that draft well. Thankfully for them, they're recouping some of this money, and that's going to allow them to go heavier into the wide receiver signing market moving forward. And then the second part of your question is in the first round. I mean, solid chance. It's all going to depend on who they like and if that player is available. We'll see what they do about offensive tackle with Trent Williams obviously being no spring chicken anymore. But he's still playing well, and Colton McKivitz is playing well. But McKivitz is somebody who they just re-signed, which is nice. But they've got to make sure the tackle is shored up for the long term. What rookie will have the best post-buy bump? Wish we could have seen what Mike Kell would have done, says Ryan Jones. I agree. Would have been cool to watch. I think that CJ West and Alfred Collins are going to be awesome to watch post-buy. I think that Upton Stout, I mean, he's been playing this whole time. He might be somebody, because the defensive line seems to be picking up steam for the 49ers. And the better the D-line is, the better setup your DBs are going to have. So maybe Upton Stout is going to have a nice little boost for the 49ers after that bye week. We got a new member. Heather has joined. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate you. You could join memberships either through, I think you could do it on mobile now. She becomes part of the Steve Young membership group. There are different membership tiers. She becomes a supporter of the channel through the Steve Young membership tier. Thank you, Heather. Who replaces Saleh if he gets a job? Maybe Gus Bradley. Gus is now on the 49ers staff. He was Saleh's former boss in Seattle, former head coach with Jacksonville. Seems like the 49ers are set up with a short-term succession plan there. Might Saleh leave? I mean, yeah, he might, but he also might stay. Might be 2 years so he could see through this rebuilding project of the 49ers defense. Mike says Jim Schwartz because the Browns might clean house. That'd be crazy if Jim Schwartz came to the 49ers following the Jim Harbaugh yelling match. Yeah, I do wonder if Saleh does. I mean, I think it's very important that Saleh picks the right head coaching job. You can't just pick any head coaching job, especially since this is your second chance if he gets it. You almost never get a third chance. This is the one you have to succeed at, and you got to make sure that you're heading to a functional franchise. It can't be another Jets situation for Robert Saleh. So if that's not there, he's in a good spot with Bosa and Fred Warner both set to return next year. Warner maybe sooner, who knows? But he's in a good spot to be able to be picky. And I think he's happy right now in San Francisco. I think ultimately he wants another head coaching opportunity, but he doesn't have to rush for one. So we'll see what the landscape looks like after this season. The Giants will need a new head coach. That'd be funny if Robert Saleh was right back in New York, same stadium. The Niners locker room in New York was right next to the Jets locker room at MetLife. So it felt familiar for Robert Saleh to walk out, be in that whole environment where he was the head coach for 3+ seasons. No, I don't think the 49ers could do this. Can they just have a truck pull up to his house and pay him whatever he wants? At a certain point, it's not about money. And you don't want it to be about money to that extent with these guys. These guys are fiercely competitive. They have aspirations to be at the top of their profession. That means they want head coaching jobs. They deserve that opportunity if they perform that well as coordinators. So no matter what you offer him, I think Robert Saleh, you can't get rid of the competitive nature in him to want to climb that ladder and be the main guy somewhere. And he deserves that opportunity. Nobody should fault him for that, and nobody should fault the 49ers for not being able to keep him. I mean, that's the natural progression of good coordinators in this league. We don't know if Kyle Juszczyk will play next week. 49ers are still on their bye. We'll see how the fractured rib feels for Kyle. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. I got some stuff to do. I'm flying to San Francisco today. So this has been your 49ers update. Curtis Robinson, congratulations to him. 49ers team winner for Walter Payton Man of the Year. And Trey McBride leaving George Kittle off the top 5. What the hell's going on? Does he have beef with Kittle or something? To me, that's laughable, but we'll talk to you guys soon. Hit the sub button, hit the like button. We are almost at 100,000. So if everybody just takes a little bit of time right now, like 2 seconds out of your day, and you hit the like and then you hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that yet, you can get us closer to 100,000. We're going to have a big party once we reach 100K. So please do hit that sub button. We will talk to you very, very soon.